Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. This episode, we are headed for the Eastern Front, yet again, as always. Excuse me, always ever deeper east, this time with the newly released Russia Besieged Deluxe Edition from Compass Game by Art Lupinacci. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I've been playing around with this since I did the unboxing video, which I think was last Thursday. And just a few thoughts before we get started here. I do like the way it plays. It is interesting to me. It is very much feels like Russian campaign with, enhancement, pumped up, so to speak. One thing I have noticed about playing this is it is easy at times to kind of fall into some of the conventions of the Russian campaign. So be careful about that whenever you are playing this, because I've kind of had that happen a few times. Hopefully it won't happen on this playthrough, but I have noticed that. Because of course, as a war gamer now of almost 30 years, I've played the Russian campaign a number of times. I have the L2 one with the expansion kit on my shelf, and I've played that over the years as well. So what I'm going to do this episode, a little different, is I am going to do a little Barbarossa what if. Now what I mean by that is I have taken all the forces from the Germans. From the Russians, I've set them up the way they were historically set up in 1941. But I took the German setup card, I put all my forces out, and deployed them basically at will. With the exception of, I didn't put any extra German troops in Finland, just because, even for me, with a what-if scenario, that seemed a little far-fetched politically for the time period. Excuse me. So, let's see now what I've done and why I have done it. So I'm sure you can see here, in the middle of the map, here's this big blob, the Pripyat marshes, which basically is a primeval force. It's not really a marsh per se, it's a bit of a misnomer. So I have my army groups North, Center, South, and Army Group Romania, which Army Group Romania is really an army group now, and you'll see why here in a moment. So what I've done is, let's go ahead and zoom in on Army Group North and Center first. So let me come in a little tighter on those guys. Here we go. Okay. So what I've done is I've kind of stripped down Army Group North and Center. I've given them a fair amount of units here, Stukas, for support, but I've only provided one armored corps in each one. Everybody else is infantry. So Army Group Center basically stretches here to here, and then Army Group North is packed into here. I have one infantry unit here with the Stukas. That next impulse I'm going to send over here and try to give some support to Finland. Now, I'm just calling this my I wonder what if scenario, if you will. Because, of course, other scenarios you can do with Barbarossa is you can load everything up on Army Group Center. You can do the so-called Der Führer option, which is basically put all your strength on the wings, Army Group North and Army Group South. And I guess you could argue Army Group Romania, too, as well, and advance from there. So, from the north of the Pripyat marshes, this is how I'm going to do this. Now, the reason I'm doing this is in order to win this thing, you have to control major cities. Major cities are in all caps, like Riga and Minsk. So if you look at the marshes here, it's like a dividing line. If you look north of those marshes, you basically have you have Minsk, Riga, you have Leningrad, Moscow, and Gorky. You basically only have 5 major cities. Other cities like Smolensk and Tallinn and Brest and Vilno, they're all minor cities. And of course, capturing Moscow is going to be extremely difficult to do. But if you look in the south, let's move down south, so to speak, things are a little different. Okay, if you look out across the Soviet frontier here in the south, you have, let's count them, Odessa 1, Kiev 2. This one's always a tricky one for me. I think it's Dnipro, Nipopetrovsk. That's always a tricky one for me. The big D word. 3. Sevastopol's 4. Stalino's 5. Rostov is 6. Kharkov is 7. Voronezh is 8. Stalingrad is 9. And then you also have Saratov out there is 10. Not to mention, you know, if you manage to wheel far enough south, you got Astrakhan, and you also have Tbilisi. So you've got twice as many major victory point cities in the south of the Pripyat marshes as opposed to the north. And that is why I have gone and focused my forces in the south here. So, come on, just a tiny bit. There we go. I think I got everybody now. So what I've done here is I put the bulk of my panzers. I've got 2 spearheads here, which I'm going to go ahead and basically try to break through a couple of spots over here. I've got some infantry support here, but honestly, the bulk of my forces I put here in Romania, because this is wide open. You know, I mean, Stalin beefed up the border here because he was convinced that Hitler was coming into the Ukraine for the same reason, kind of ironically, that Hitler wanted the Ukraine. That's where all the productivity was and all of that. So I've set up here with some panzer groups that I'm going to try and rush across these lovely rivers, the Prut, the Dniester, and the Bug. The Bug. I always thought that was funny. That's just, you know, my thing. But, I mean, you know, it's like Paris, Virginia. It's like, okay. And then I'm going to race here. I'm hoping to get here, into this area here, Kiev and the Dnipropetrovsk city, quickly and efficiently. Okay. Now, I am playing the opening scenario, which only lasts 5 turns, and the opening scenario has 2 possible weather charts, A and B. However, since that doesn't affect anything until the September turn, I'm not going to roll to find out which one I'm playing with, because, well, that'll spoil the surprise. Okay. So, let's zoom back out here. Let's get ready to roll. All right. Now, there are a bunch of special rules for the opening turn that you definitely want to take a look at. They're at the end of the rules book. They're not in the playbook, actually. Okay, the whole shock of war thing. Okay. So, first impulse, basically, there's no help with rivers. There's Axis gets a +1 modifier. Can retreat priority. They can ignore retreat priorities. Basically, you can push the Russians into pockets because, like Russian campaign, the attacker gets to decide on where these folks retreat to. Okay, so after the first impulse, though, of course, which is the initial June assault, that last week of June, roughly last week of June, then all bets are off, and you go from there. So here we go. My little interesting what if we all put all of our weight in the south. Barbarossa. Let's call it Southern Barbarossa with a southern lean, southern tilt. There we go. Alright. Alright, don't need to worry about the weather phase. German first impulse. So now, German player, I can move my units. Okay? And again, like the Russian campaign, you have a similar sort of setup here. Okay? You've got, you know, your weather, and you got your first impulse, the full movement for everybody on the clear, and then of course, depending on who you are and what kind of unit you are, that dictates your ability to move in the second impulse of the turn. Okay? Alright, now, unlike the Russian campaign, you have 2 options here for combat. You can go with the regular combat results table, okay? Or you can go with the Blitzkrieg one here. And yeah, I know Blitzkrieg is misspelled. Somebody pointed that out on the unboxing video. And basically, Blitzkrieg, you can work on not only making pockets, but you can see here with all the advances and stuff, you can basically get your people further ahead. So the second impulse, you can run even farther and faster. The only trick is you gotta clear the hex. So, as Barnum and Bailey would say, let's get this show on the road. So let's start moving. Alright. So let's see. How do I want to do this? Well, now, when you finish moving, you have to attack units in your zone of control with a few exceptions. Exception 1 is if you're divided by a river. You do not have to attack across the river. Exception 2 is if you're in a city, you do not have to attack out of that city. And I don't think it matters, major or minor. Let me see if the terrain effects chart tells us this. Let's see. No, only major cities. Major cities. So minor cities you do have to attack out of, but major cities, if you're in a major city, you do not have to withdraw. Okay. So, well, let's see here. Well, let's get going. I mean, hey, it's one of those things, right? You just fire away, and if you make a mistake, the great thing about this kind of game is you can see there's not that many counters down here, even though we got this whole eastern front going on. Best thing is, hey, not that many counters, just reset them and you go again. Alright, so I will lunge with these guys across the border here. So these guys will come forward, these guys will come forward into here, and then these guys, I'll move them 1, 2, and also use them to help attack there. Let's see, I got couple of Stukas there, but I'm not sure who I want to assign to what just yet. So I'm going to move these guys forward here, these guys forward here. I mean, some of this is going to be straightforward because basically I'm just trying to use Army Group North and Center as, let's see, for lack of a better way to put it, as placeholders, as a holding front. So basically, my anvil, so my hammer can swing through the south is the idea. Alright, now, part of the trickiness here with Army Group South is the Soviet defense line here. But I'm going to have to find a way to attack these guys as well. And that's annoying. Somebody's going to have to hit those clowns. Alright, I'll tell you what, let's do Army Group Romania first then. Let's get the Romanians across here. So we'll pour them across the river, across the Prut, because they won't be able to move again, except their mechanized unit, I guess I should say. 1, 2, 3, we'll bring him into there. Okay, cross him. And that's going to be about it. So border battles here are going to be an issue. But again, hopefully, I'm hoping to obliterate everything here, basically. And then just run free. And hopefully maybe make a nice big pocket right in here. We'll see how that works. Okay, back to Army Group South. Alright, well, let's see. I'll let these guys attack there by themselves for sure. Okay, I'm going to take a little gamble here. I'm going to let those guys soak off. So soaking off is kind of like making an attack at lesser odds, although 6 to 3 is still pretty decent odds. But soaking off is just a term basically you're using one unit to kind of pull the attention of other units, and it might be, and usually is at poor odds, to ensure the success of a stronger assault. Alright, so I've got 3 units here, and that there. I probably should have put these guys over here is what I should have done instead of putting them with the mountain troops, but I'll go ahead and move them as was my original intention with the mountain guys, so to speak. Alright. So, and then that's legal. That's still on the other side. Hungarians here, because Hungary is neutral on the first turn of the game. No Hungarians allowed, so to speak. All right, air power. Now I got to think about how I want to do this. Now air power, basically in this game, air power is a little different. Let me just show you it. Each air unit has 2 pieces to it. You've got your combat counter, and you've got your base counter, which basically represents your logistics, your supplies, yada yada yada, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so in this case here, the 5th air unit there, you got your base counter down here, and then you got your combat counter. Now, planes can only fly assault, combat, support missions once per turn. They can stage, though, too, and they can stage even before or after they fly their assaults. And each turn, you also have limits on how many planes can fly in each impulse. And there is, right here, nice big old table showing that here. Okay, so when you look at the Germans here from May to December, okay, so May, June, we're in June here, I can fly 9 in 1941. On the first impulse, I can unleash all 9 of them. The second, I can unleash 5. So the first number, 9, is how many I can do the first impulse and for the entire turn. The second number is how many I can do for the second impulse. And again, that does not count staging. You can still stage before or after you fly a combat mission. Alright, so let me see here now. I gotta have some support there. I'm gonna have to have some support down here. But basically I want to be able to really blast my way into some of these spots. So with that thought in mind, I am going to give... I'm going to give some air support to both of these battles here. Try to make sure everybody gets across the Niemen River and then starts advancing. Because I do want to pick up Minsk, because Minsk and Riga are major cities. Quite frankly, in the north and the center, I don't care how much further I get past Minsk and Riga so long as I keep pressure, dun, 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 you know, on the Russians and tie down as many people as I can by threatening Leningrad and Moscow. And that's part of the reason I'm going to send this German unit up to Finland on the second impulse. You can't move a unit by sea on the first impulse. That's not possible. Okay, I will send this Stuka down here to help. And then I want to make sure these guys break through. And now see, I don't know if I should save these two guys for the second impulse when they get here. And I'm tempted to do that because I think everybody else has got decent odds here. I'll get a +1 modifier, and I also will get a +1 modifier in any situation, blitzkrieg, combat-wise, where it's an armored taking on a non-armored formation. So let me think about this for a minute, because the use of your air power can be very, very critical in this game. So, let's see. Yeah. And of course the hex has to be clear and all that jazz. For the +1. So those guys will get... Now these guys won't get the +1 because that's mechanized. And of course the city here is going to be a problem. Gosh, I really want to save a couple of these air units here. I put 4 air units down here in Bucharest because a major city like Bucharest can host, or like Warsaw, can host 4 air units. A minor city like Lodz can only host 2. Okay, and you can see the difference here. Warsaw is all capital. And Lutz is basically quote-unquote lowercase, except for, you know, a proper first name there. So, and see down here with the Stukas I have down here, I'm not so sure that, you know, I'm really going to need a lot of them on the first impulse. So remember, I can only use 5 on the second impulse. So if I save 3 here and 2 there, that would be my 5. But let me check the range of Bucharest. Now, air units can fly, quote unquote, their mission's up to 9 hexes away. So let's see how far that is from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So technically I could save one and use it on that wing there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use this guy here. And I'm going to put it here to try and help those guys just slam their way through. Because again, terrain, there's no terrain modifiers on the opening turn for the Soviets. And then I'll save these units here to help with any exploitation back here, but also maybe to help deal with this pocket situation here. Okay, and the Finns of course can't attack on the first turn. They have to wait. Alright, so let's start rolling. Okay. So let me start. Well, let's start where the real action is going to be, so to speak. The emphasis of the entire campaign here is going to be basically here in the south. So let's start with that. Come on, just a tiny bit more. There we go. Okay. So, all right. In order for you to be able to choose a blitzkrieg attack, the opponent has to be in clear terrain, and you have to have at least one armored or mechanized unit attacking. So here I've got this Romanian one, so I can use it against these guys. So I'm going to use all these guys here to blast on this Soviet army here. I'm going to use these guys to basically annihilate those guys there. I could do them. Whoops. Whoa. I could do them in a 10-to-1 attack, but I think I'm going to skip that. Now 10 to 1 attack you can do moving wise, because I'm pretty sure once you do it, it does kind of limit your options as far as how well you can move after the fact. Okay, so yeah, automatic victory, cannot move any farther or attack any other units for the remainder of that impulse. Units which did not participate can ignore the defending units that were there for the zones of control reasons. But I'm not really worried about zone control here. I really want to hustle. I want to move across the endless steppe. So I'm not going to worry about automatic victory. That's considered part of movement. It's basically like an overrun is what it amounts to. Alright, so let's start down here. We'll have 1, 2, 3 combats here to deal with. So I've got 10, 18 and 3 is 21 to 7. That will be 3, 2, 1. Now I do have armor against the enemy in clear terrain. Okay, and even if this were a different turn, the river modifier would not count because we do have troops on the same side of the river attacking there. So 3 to 1, and then I have +1, +2. And you use a 10-sided die in this game, and a 0 rather, is a 10, not a 0. Okay, so for this first combat here, I've got a lovely 8 at 3 to 1 odds. So 8 at 3 to 1 is D3. Now, in the game, some units have up to 4 steps, especially the Panzer Corps, the Soviet mechanized units. They all have replacement counters. Let me show you. Here, I haven't punched some of them out yet. Whoops. Okay, trying to make sure it doesn't get too bad. But see all these guys here with the pink? They're replacement counters. Okay, you got shock armies. Here's some replacement counters. Okay, but most units don't. They have only 2 steps. Okay, so these guys here have only 2 steps, and any surviving units would basically have to retreat. So I've wiped them out, and I can advance after combat. I'll move these guys across the river because, of course, naturally enough, I want to be able to continue to drive as much as possible here. Okay. Next battle, we got this battle going on here. So I've got 10, 28, and 6 is 34. So that's basically 10 to 1 odds. I'm using the Blitzkrieg table, +2 modifier. Okay, and that comes out to a 10. So the enemy is destroyed. Okay. And then I can advance into that hex with units, so I will. I will go ahead and advance everybody across the river because river movement is problematic. And now my Panzer units can move an additional 3 hexes beyond that, ignoring zones of control. So I will take this Panzer Spearhead and go 1, 2, 3 with it so I can get back in behind. Well, hold on a second. Should I go that way? Now, you know what? We'll make the outer layer of the pocket here. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. I don't think I'm going to need them down in Odessa. But then now on the second impulse, I can start to drive up here towards this railroad junction as needed. Okay. All right, now over here, last battle down here on this side, we've got 22 to 4. That's going to be 5 to 1. And again, opening turn, we ignore terrain. So 5 to 1. Now this one's only going to be +1 because they are an armored formation against an armored formation. Okay. But still, at 5 to 1 odds, with a +1, I'll go to the Blitzkrieg chart. Ooh, 5 to 1, a 3. Well, good news and bad news. The bad news is they only took 1 step loss. Ouch. And now they have to retreat. So now they'll go 1, 2 hexes after that. Yeah. Which of course will allow my guys to advance into this square, or hex I should say square, into that hex there, which is good, but I really wanted the extra advance moves there. That was bad luck rolling that too. Oh well, that's the way it goes. Some days are better than others. What can I tell you. Alright? So, did inflict some losses on them, but obviously not the optimal start I was hoping for here. So, alright. Okay. Alright, too bad for that. So I guess maybe I should have cut these guys a little shorter before. I'll have to try and figure out what to do with them here in this second impulse. Alright, on to Army Group South territory here. So we're going to attack here with Army Group South. Alright, so I'm going to use these guys here, these guys here, these guys here, and I'm hoping basically to blow this wide open. And then these guys will be here and these guys will be here. So let's start up here on this flank and try to get this flank ripped open. So this is 6-3, which is 2-1. A Stuka moves the columns by 1. So now that will make that a 3-1 attack. And of course it'll just be a normal assault because I don't have an armored formation attack in there. So 3-1. +1 because all German units get a +1. You know what? I don't usually do this real early, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I am going to go ahead and commit one of my field marshals to this, and having a field marshal gives you another +1 there. If you can see, this one is Hoppner, and I will use him. Now, you have to be careful using them because you only get to use them once per year. That's it. So once you use them, it's one and done, so to speak. All right. So now I'll put the 4-1 with a, no, sorry, 3-1 with a +2. Oh! Ah, it's a 10 at 3-1. So defender eliminated. Okay, perfect. And I can advance after combat, and we are off and running here with Army Group South. All right, now down here I'm going to attack on the other wing now. I have 11-3. Just missed out on that. 3-1. Again, we ignore the terrain on the opening turn, so I don't have to worry about those mountains. So 3-1 with a +1. Shoot. 3-1 with a 4. It is defender loses 1 step. They do have to retreat 2 hexes. Now, I can retreat them like into a pocket if I want. But I'm going to go ahead and pull them back a little bit because I'm going to try and make a bigger pocket here later on down the road. That's my plan. Yeah. Let me just double check that mountain thing though. But I'm pretty sure that's what it says. Yeah, the Russian player receives no terrain die roll modifier benefits versus any Axis attacks during the first turn. Nothing's negated. Okay. But I wonder if that means I still get doubled. That's a good question. It only says die roll modifier, so I'm going to have to redo that fight. Hang on a second. Let me see. I may have been misreading that. Okay. Alright, so let's do this one again because this one here I need to redo. Alright, so let's try this again. So this actually will be 11-6, which is only going to be 1-1. Okay. Now there's no -1 modifier. Okay. But I will get +1 for my field marshal and +1 for my mountain unit. So that actually will give me +3 because I get +1 for that. So +3 altogether at, unfortunately, 1-1 off. So here we go. Big money, big money, big money! Ugh. Not big money. This could be bloody. Alright. What? Attacker retreats. I have to retreat 2 hexes. Looks like I should have used a Stuka, huh? Yep. Looks that way. Alright. I have to try and clear those guys out later. Well, that wasn't good. Alright, now here I've got 15-6. Because minor cities, you don't get double. Major cities you do, but minor cities you do not. Okay. So I've got 15-6, so that's 2-1. With this, we'll make it 3-1. So now I will have 3-1 odds to attack in Laval with a +1 modifier. That's a little better. 3 to 1 to 7. D2. Perfect. So these guys only have 2 steps. So they are obliterated, and I move into Laval. Good. Okay. Alright. So far, so good. Well, except for that little a minute ago. Okay. Let's try and work on finishing this off here. So I've got 16 and 5 is 21 to 4. So that's 5 to 1. I'll get a +1. But not the +2 because it's mech versus mech. So +1, that's 5 to 1, and I am blitzing. 5 to 1, a 5. Okay, D2, which will destroy these guys. But unfortunately, I'll only get it to advance 1 extra hex beyond this one. So I'll move into there. The good news is that I'll be able to pocket these guys at least. And if they manage to survive an assault, if they try to retreat, they'll have no place to go. Speaking of which, last but not least, I've got 15 to 6 here, which is a little iffy. That's 2 to 1. So 2 to 1 for that attack. Oh, bollocks. That means I cannot do a blitzkrieg assault. Blitzkrieg has to be at least 3 to 1. Whew. Ouch. Okay. Well, I should use another Stuka again. So I'll have to make some notes here, get my dry erase board, make some notes, my staff notes for next time around when I try this again. Alright, so I'll have to go with 2 to 1 with a +1 modifier. There's a +2 because +1 for opening turn, and opening impulse, and then +1 for armor versus non. Alright. Okay, so that comes out to a 6. So that is D1, but they have to retreat 2 hexes, but they cannot because there's no negated zone of control there, so they are destroyed. Okay, good deal for me. Unfortunately, once again, I did not get the advance that I wanted down there. Alright, so this opening turn's been a little problematic. Alright, time to go Army Group Center and North here. Alright, these 2 guys here, this is 9 to 6. That's 1 to 1, but the Stuka will make it 2 to 1. So unfortunately, this is probably going to be an ugly bloodbath too, but let's hope for a high number. +1 to the modifier. It's a 6 at 2 to 1. Well, D1. So they are defeated, and now they have to retreat. So 1 and 2. And we can advance into there. I probably should have attacked up here first, but even so, they could have retreated back towards the marshes, even with that. Okay. Now, let's see. So I'll have to go here, here. Somebody's going to have to take care of this. Ouch. Okay. Dang it. Alright, so here and here, these attacks will go. This attack here. These guys I'll probably split and use the Stukas to help them. Alright, so this is 1 to 1, 2 to 1 thanks to the Stukas. Oops, that one came from up here. With a +1. Ooh, an 11. Awesome, D3. Wow, that was good. I completely annihilated those guys. That was fortunate. I was lucky to get that result there. So these guys are smashed. Okay, these guys here, unfortunately, it's only going to be 1 to 1, but it will be +1. So I need a 0. Come on, give me a 0. Give me that big old 0, which is a 10. 0, my hero, how wonderful you are. Ah, close, I got a 9. I'll take that. 1 to 1 odds, a 10. Ooh, ouch, that stung. Ooh, ouch, 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 ouch. Ow, ow, we both got beat up. X2. Both sides take 2 hit losses with an X2. Oh, shoot. And I don't get any replacements till November. Ugh. Well, if we can keep rolling and keep people tied down, those guys will have achieved their goal. Okay, so we got another 2 to 1 assault here across the river. Remember, no no benefits on that. I swear there's something to rivers by themselves. Or am I confusing Russian campaign again? Yeah, rivers do not double defending, right? But they start on the second impulse. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So yeah, rivers do not double, but the mountains wouldn't. The mountains did, and hence why we had that problem down there. Okay, so 2 to 1 plus 1. 4. BR. Battle rages. 1 step loss, no retreat, no advance. Alright, so both sides took a shot. And that's that. Alright, then here we've got 10 to 3. That's 3 to 1 plus 1. Ah, that's better. A 10. Defender eliminated. That's what I'm talking about. And we will advance into here. And try to clear some of that out here on this next turn. Or this next impulse, I should say. Alright, then down here I've got 12 to 4, 3 to 1. I can do a blitzkrieg if I want. So 3 to 1 with a plus 2 modifier. No, actually I'm going to go with the regular combat strategy. Should have went. I should have stuck with it. Alright. 3 to 1 and 11 completely annihilates those guys. So they'll be able to advance into there. But if I had gone with the blitzkrieg, I would have gotten even farther through there. Dang it. Oh well. I should have been bold. Fortune favors the bold, as the old expression goes. Okay. Moving along. Moving right along, right along, right along, right along. Okay. So these guys here. Alright, let's do these guys here. So this is 8 and 7. That's 15 to 3. That is going to be 5 to 1. I can use the blitzkrieg. I will use the blitzkrieg with a plus 1 modifier. A 7. D2 and advance 2. So those guys are destroyed. And then these guys come up, and then my panzers can move 2 more spaces. So 1, 2. I'll swing them back around here to try and get my situation put together with that. Okay, and then over here, I've got 12 to 4, which is 3 to 1 plus 1. Okay, 3 to 1 with a 10. So, obliteration, which is lovely. And I'll move 2 of those guys into that spot for advance after combat. Okay, so not the world's greatest opening impulse, but not an absolute nightmare either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 Russian units shattered. And the first impulse here. So, okay, that's, I mean, not terrific, but not awful either as well. Alright, now, I really was hoping to be able to, see, my southern strategy I don't think worked out as well as I was hoping to. So let's take a look at the big picture here right now. So right now, Army Group South is still, you know, this bottleneck here between this part of the Pripyat marshes and the Carpathians here is such a bottleneck, and I still am not really getting through it. Now down here, I'll be able to sweep with my panzers behind and bring some infantry up to put pressure from the center, but I probably won't be able to get a hold of Odessa this impulse. This turn. I'll probably have to wait till next impulse. Army Group Center. Well, Army Group Center is a little better up here. Army Group Center is in a position now to kind of shoot through the gap here and help with both Riga and Minsk, these forces here. But these guys here, especially here, we did take some shots, and we did have that one corps that was shattered as a result of the combat. So, not so good. Yeah. Alright, now, the other thing you've got to keep in mind here is any units that begin the second impulse in the zone of control of an enemy unit cannot move. Now, if you begin the first impulse in the zone of control of an enemy unit, you may leave and then come back. Okay, so you can exit the zone of control, go into a hex that has no zone of control, and then come back from there. Okay, now let's consult our chart here and see just exactly who is going to take a look and see. So let's take a look at movement, because movement's the big thing now. We know we get 5 bombers, and I did not save more than 5 for the second impulse. So maybe I shouldn't have saved any for the second impulse, but as I say at the end of Conan the Destroyer, that's another story for another time. Okay, so clear. Now we're on second impulse. All my Panzer Corps will be able to move 4. My German infantry can move 2, and then Axis special units like mountain units, mechanized units, they'll be able to move 2 as well. But my Axis infantry, so all my Romanians down here, they won't be able to help me this turn. To quote the Big Lebowski, that's a bummer, man. Alright, so let's take a look. See this mess here now. Alright, so Odessa clearly cannot be captured this turn, so there's no point in me, because even with my German infantry corps, they can only move 2. Yeah, on the second impulse on a clear turn. So I need to keep this guy. I want to keep him in striking distance, but I won't. Yeah, I mean I could bring this up. Well, I guess I could bring both of them and use one of these Stukas, huh? I've got 3 fresh ones down here. Things to make you go. Things to make you go. Because if I capture Odessa, then I can run like a madman to if somebody can phonetically put this in the comments how to pronounce this, I should probably do Google Translate, but we all know how Google Translate works, so that's kind of hit and miss. And then I could turn south to Sevastopol too. You know what? I'm going to take my chances, because this cavalry can go ahead and move into there. Well, wait a minute, hold on. But the mechanized unit, yeah, it won't, because it's going to cost 1 extra movement point now to cross the river. Dang it. Alright, so I will have to wait. Unless I divert one of these armored units down here and work with the cavalry unit and try to storm Odessa with some air support. Boy, I'm really tempted to do that too, because if I can clear that flank, that would be totally awesome. Now these guys could still move, because a unit can always move at least 1 hex, even though they have 1 movement point. You know what? I'm going to do it. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've got these 2 armored corps here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to let them keep some pressure there. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. See these rivers down here. 1, 2. Are going to be a mess, aren't they? Yes, they are. Let's see. Those guys can't move. Alright, so these guys down here, I guess the best thing I can hope to do with Army Group South right now is just try to rip this hole open about as big as possible through here. And let me see what my mountain unit can move. Let's see. German. German mountain can move 2. I think it only costs 1 movement point for them for mountains. No, but it costs 2 for everybody. Armor and cavalry have to pay 3. Dang it! So I wouldn't be able to get them down there even if I wanted to get them down there. Alright, well, let's move these guys in some. So that defender retreat really was a bad result. Okay, these guys were part of Army Group South. So I know that's going to leave things open there a little bit, but I'm going to close up that flank here in a second with this other corps and attack this cavalry unit outside of Brest. Okay, can't move those guys, can't move those guys. Can move these guys, can move these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Alright, so that's about as good as I can get there. Alright, and I do want to make sure... Let's see, what do I got here? I got one... Just one, huh? Okay, I only got one air unit left over there. Shoot. Question is where to use it. I got 3 down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Dang it, they can't reach. Alright, I'm going to fly this one up to here to ensure that this gets completely collapsed. So that will open this wide up to attack Riga. I'm going to take 2 of these guys here. The green, and we'll take the yellow. And I think I can stage them, but I am going to double check here in a second. So hold on here a second. I think I can stage them to Brest, even though Brest is enemy zone of control. But let me make sure here. Air missions, landing air missions. Now let's use the index. The index, by the way, on this is very good. Every time I've had questions, I have been able to just take a look and see what I've needed just to look it up. Let's see. Okay, rule 11. Here we go. Alright, air availability. Air bases. 18 hexes. Doesn't say that you can't, but let me check zone of control rule. That's one of the first rules in the book. I mean, logically, I would think that it's. I mean, it would be hard to do that, but let me just make sure here. Axis player may stage airfields currently under control by the Axis player. Oh, it says here, note, Axis engineers and ground crews displayed great energy in quickly making captured airfields operational during the summer and fall of 1941. So, I guess I can. Alright, so I will stage those 2 guys here to Brest. So we'll flip them to their stage sides. Whoops, not those guys, sorry, wrong marker. These guys get flipped to their stage sides, and I will stage them down to Brest. So they'll be ready next turn and be closer to the action, as it were. Okay, so I really didn't capture any other cities there. Alright, down here, we're definitely going to use 1 air unit in Odessa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll use 1 here. I should have used one of these that first turn. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ah, just short. Alright, well, you know what? I'm just going to put both of them on Odessa because capturing Odessa is important for my plans. So, okay. Alright, so actually I think I'm going to end there because, like I said, I just kind of wanted to show you this well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, just to show you how the game flow goes. It's pretty similar to, oh, dang it, I forgot about the converted railroad markers. That's a difference too. Again, one of the things you'll have to do is, you know, sort out in your head ahead of time. Okay, that's too many heads. Sort out in your head beforehand, there we go, the differences in terms of those little nuances. Like in this game, there are converted railroad hexes. I should have been moving those already to denote supply, even though I could not move units by rail. I should have been doing that with those at this point, rather than, you know, the Russian campaign, you just move the railheads with the forces as they move along. So I did forget to converting the railheads. So interesting to me, because I never really thought about it before, and this map kind of brings it out pretty well, is that even massing a bunch of forces in Romania, them doggone rivers are a major problem. So one of the things I guess I got to look at here is, what is a better way to deploy my armored forces next time to maximize the fact that the rivers don't do anything, so to speak, or aren't a hindrance at the beginning there. Probably next time what I should do is, here's the boundary line between Army Group South and Army Group Romania. I probably should put my panzers up on this end and push them through here, I think. Because rather than trying to make this pocket, which obviously didn't work, there's a big flipping gap right here. Maybe I should be putting them here and just let these guys run hell for leather towards Kiev and see what they can pocket along the way. Maybe next time I should just, that's an interesting thought. Since this bottleneck is such a bottleneck, maybe I should concentrate lots of my Luftwaffe here and use it to try and support infantry corps blasting here, but actually put almost all my armored corps in this little gap here and just try to rip and tear and basically try to pocket, you know, after going there, fan out all across the south, because man, all them panzers running like crazy. I mean, theoretically, if you got a strong enough blitzkrieg result with an advanced 3, I wonder. I don't know. Let's see. I'm curious. So here's the border. So let's say it was here. So you advance 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not quite. No, not quite. But you'd be well on your way to there. And the Russians don't get a whole lot of reinforcements at the beginning of the game. So that whole line could be breached. The Dnieper could be completely breached, theoretically. And these guys could be pocketed. Okay, so in other words, you know what I'm probably going to do? Go back to the drawing board. Yeah. I may have to look at the distribution of some of these, and I think what I'm also going to have to do is use my field marshals more aggressively and just pound on those positive plus modifiers there to quickly sweep through this area and finish things off here as rapidly as humanly possible. Yeah. Might have to make sure I use a Stuka down here with the Romanian Armored Corps so they can advance after combat with a blitzkrieg result too. So, I mean, I'm not unhappy with Army Group North and Army Group Center. I mean, they're doing pretty much what I wanted them to do. I mean, I'm clearly going to be able to clear most of this out this turn. And up here in the north, these two should fall, which leaves the road to Riga wide open. And there really isn't any opportunity for the Soviets to kind of counterattack and try to cut my rail lines here. So I kind of covered all that well. So, okay, well, honestly, that's probably what I'm going to do. After I'm done doing this video with you guys later tonight, I'm going to probably go and start this again and try this again. Because that's part of the reason, one of the reasons I like war games is because you can play around with history, you know. And granted, you know, sometimes you can say, oh, well, you know, you're really kind of skirting the edge of what was possible. Yeah, well, again, when people say that, you know, I mean, objectively speaking, there's no way Lee should have been able to hold out in Antietam against McClellan, especially after losing his orders. Come on, man. Or, you know, the Molotov-Ribbentrop pact should not have happened. Or, you know, who foresaw in the 30 Years' War Catholic France, one of the most Catholic states in Europe, supporting Protestant Sweden? You know? I mean, there's lots of stuff here that sometimes is completely off the wall. That it's funny that we studied his history and then we kind of rationalize like, oh, okay, well that makes sense because of ABC. Yeah, well it didn't make sense to the participants at the time, you know. But I have kind of the same pet peeve about people who think that, you know, World War II, victory was inevitable for the Allies. I think that's baloney. Granted, once the Allies managed to get cranked up and stuff, did they have an advantage? Yes. If you really start to study the command structure and all the things that they did right and all the things the Axis did wrong, if you flip that script, do the Allies win? I'm not so sure. So, but again, you can't think of it with the hindsight of 2020 being like, oh, because again, to use a sports analogy, well, you know, the Allies winning World War II, well, then we shouldn't have bothered to play Super Bowl III because God knows the Colts were going to beat the Jets. I mean, nobody thought the Jets were going to win. Nobody. You know, or like very few people thought the Giants were going to beat the Patriots that year. They went for their undefeated season. Almost nobody was betting on the Giants. You know, just a few weeks before, you know, the Giants had gotten beat by the Patriots pretty solidly too. Granted, they put up a good fight. But, you know, it's just, there's so many examples. What I'm getting at here is that, you know, this is not predestined. Material factors are not the decisive factors, and sometimes they are not the most important factors. You know, just because you got a material advantage, it's like playing chess. Just because you're up a whole bishop, you got to look at the position on the board. Yeah, you might be up a bishop and 2 pawns, but hey, you know what? If the remaining enemy pieces are swarming on your king thanks to that bishop and 2 pawns being gone, who cares? You know, I've played lots of chess games where I've been up a pawn or a piece even, and I've given it back because the position started to deteriorate for me. And when I gave the piece back, I was able to do so and then retain the initiative and continue to play and eventually win those games. So maybe that's the best analogy. It's like a chessboard, you know. Just because you're up material or down material, you got to look at the whole position on the board. Where's everything located? So, sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a rant there, but you know, again, one of the reasons I just love the war game hobby is just being able to play with history. It's just so much fun to me. You know, whether you play with history in more realistic terms, you know, hey, I unleash Barbarossa, and then, hey, at the beginning of the July turn, I'm going to use rail movement and bring all the Panzer Corps, rather, down to Army Group South and, you know, Rumania, and bam, try to do it then. I mean, maybe that's even a more viable strategy than what I'm trying, because then the rivers might be cleared. That's an idea. Use them to beat up in the north and the center and then switch them south. It's a thought. But again, that just kind of illustrates my point. I just enjoy this. It's a lot of fun. As far as this game goes, if you like Russian campaign, I think you would like this even more. It is a lot of fun. There's a lot more chrome here. The rulebook is well organized. Like I said, I've been able to look things up pretty easy, find the answers pretty easy. The playbook is nicely done. There's great examples of play there. The only thing, well, there's 2 things I would say, 2 things that are kind of a thumbs down to me in terms of, yeah, there's my thumbs down in terms of the game is, one is there's no setup card for Case Blue, or not Case Blue, for Kursk, for Citadel. There's a setup card for Downfall, and there's a setup card for Case Blue. They're the 2 sides of the same card, but there's nothing for Citadel. That would have been nice to have. The other thing is, and I got to be honest about this, you know, I want to be bluntly honest with you all. These counters, punching these counters out has been some of the hardest counters I've had to punch out since some decision games I have done. And if you know anything about decision game counters, punching them out, that can be a nightmare. Nightmare. So, that's the only 2 drawbacks I will say, other than maybe footprint, because this thing is enormous. I mean, not only do I have my huge game table here, you know, taken up with just about everything. Okay, you can see over there I've got, you know, the counters and stuff, and then if we swing this way, I've got the turn record card, and then way off there in the distance by the Mikhail Shigorin book, biography, I also have the setup cards. So, you know, I've really got, and even over here, if we go further, you can see there's my rule book, there's my player aid cards, and there is my dice tower. So I guess really, footprint-wise, well, I'm using this whole table, so let's see. I'm using most of this table. I'll just give you an idea. Seriously, I literally will give you an idea. So my whole table here is basically, let's see, my whole table is about 83 inches long. Where the setup cards is, it goes up to about 96 inches that way. And then I'm also using another, let's see, over here, if we count the space, 96 plus another 36 inches. So, yeah, you're talking about a lot of space. I'm not a math major. You can do the math on your own. So, only other thing I can say negative about this really is a footprint kind of thing. So, all right, well, I hope this playthrough helped you to see some of the differences with Russian campaign, the biggest thing, of course, is the Blitzkrieg combat is probably the thing that was highlighted the most here. And again, the railroad conversion, which I forgot, that's my fault. So, alright. So this is Tim Korsler from Bare Bones Wargaming saying thanks for watching, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to play around with Russian Besieged, to be honest. After that, I have no idea what game I'm going to dabble with. I'm not sure how much time I have, because my wife may be delivering our second child a little bit earlier than was first anticipated. So, so if that happens, I do have some ideas that I mentioned before lined up for some non-playthrough episodes. You know, just to kind of keep the channel active and keep some content out there and stuff. And when that comes, because it'll be easier and shorter to do, I'll go ahead and share that with you. So, thanks for watching. See you next episode.